Hello, and thanks for coming along to And We Have an Office Dog, the digital agency podcast where we talk to agency owner-directors and learn more about what makes them tick. From the things that make them similar to the things they'd rather have known sooner, where they've had success and where they've learned some hard lessons. All will be revealed with your host, Chris Simmance, the agency coach, and he'll be talking to a different awesome agency person in each episode, asking them 4 questions and seeing where the conversation takes us over the next 25 minutes. Okay, so let us begin. Over to you, Chris.
Thanks, voiceover guy. In this episode, we've got the amazing Nichola Stott from Erudite. Hello, Nichola.
Hi, Chris.
How you doing?
I'm well, thank you, and thank you very much for having me.
No problem at all. For those of you who are listening, we've spent the last 20 minutes trying to get microphones sorted, so we are very happy to be talking in this podcast today. Nichola, you are the MD of Erudite. Tell us all about what Erudite does. Give yourself a plug just in case a potential client's listening.
So we are a technical SEO agency. We are very strong in e-commerce. We work with national and global business consulting. We specialise in senior level business consulting. We get right to the heart of business direction. So we are, I guess, management consulting, but make it SEO would be a good way of describing us.
And that's quite within the world of SEO agencies, focusing directly on technical is quite niche, isn't it?
It certainly is, yeah, absolutely.
I think being niche in some way or another is a superpower, I think, especially if you stick to it from an agency's perspective. So we've got 4 questions here, Nichola. We'll jump right in and we'll see where we go. So in the first question I want to ask, and I ask all of the guests on the podcast is, what do you feel has been one of your biggest successes over the, 12 years I think you've been running Erudite now?
That's right, yeah. So one thing that we've always been pretty good at is having a real sixth sense in terms of what's important, what to focus on, what Google might be looking at. And it's something that we seem to really times really well with any of our R&D projects. From as far back as implementing hreflang sitemaps. We were the first agency in the world to do that.
Really?
You
heard it here, everyone.
Created our hreflang sitemap tool because it was such a painful project to actually implement. It was kind of ahead of the curve on that. And then other projects we created a UK-wide performance benchmark for the top 1,000 sites in the UK. We did some progressive web app stuff 5 years ago. So we've always been a year or two ahead of the kind of the whatever the drum to bang that year.
Before everyone's tweeting about it, you mean?
Yeah, before it becomes the conference fodder of every pitch, every conference talk pitch 3 years afterwards. Most recently we did a couple of years ago we focused on accessibility as UX criteria and as a ranking factor. So yeah.
So where do these visionary things come from? Is it be honest, is it just accidentally ahead of the curve, or are there 50 different projects which don't make the cut, or are you genuinely because you've got some smart people working for you? So how is it that's come about being a thing?
Honestly, I'd say having worked for a search engine, it's just pretty obvious. It's like having the R&D, roadmap.
I forgot all about that. It was Yahoo, wasn't it?
It was Yahoo, yeah. I was there for 5 years. When I started, they had 12% market share, so it was actually a consideration. That was a good chunk of data for the UK, but obviously that was eroding very quickly. But it just gives you that insight. If there's an algo update and the focus is X, then if I'm well, the next one is going to be Y. It just naturally follows.
That makes a lot of sense. So nice bit of use there from previous experience, and I guess having those smart people that work with you has made it a hell of a lot easier, hasn't it, to implement some of these ideas, I guess.
100%.
Yeah. So I guess if you went back then to 2010 to talk to the younger, more sprightly version of you, what would you say to her?
Get therapy.
I shouldn't laugh at that, but that's the way you said it. Sorry, I'm not laughing at having therapy. I think that
I know you. Yeah,
You said-
I'll expand on that. I'll
Yeah.
explain for why. Like, I think if you're a founder, you're probably one sort of type of personality anyway. You might be quite driven. You might have a lot of ideas. You might, generally you're open to risk, a lot more risk and that sort of thing than somebody who might be absolutely perfectly happy to accept a salary, and that is absolutely great.
Yeah.
What I would say though is really defining what your business goal is, what you want it to do for you. Like, what is the point of having this business? That really comes from having your own personal vision. And for me, I didn't have that. I didn't know myself well enough 12 years ago, and I didn't have a crystallized personal vision. I knew what I didn't like, and I knew what I didn't want, and I knew I wanted to stay in search, but I didn't have a real plan because I didn't have that kind of core guiding me, and I wish I did.
Okay. So therapy helps with that, has helped you with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, if that is what is missing in terms of your guidance, in terms of your plan, I would 100% recommend that's, it's that old adage, isn't it? Fit your own mask first. In order to establish your company goals, in order to establish what your company vision is, it's fitting a purpose for you. If you're a sole founder, or even if there's just a couple of you, if it's a bigger piece, if it's, you've got, you're seed funded, you've got investors and all the rest, that's a different story. But if you're founder operated, then that's where I'm sort of coming from.
Yeah, I think you've got something there. I especially say to quite a lot of agencies who try and sort of, there's quite a lot of agencies out there that look the same, don't they? There's quite a lot of agencies out there that just sort of run a business and they churn lots of clients, they churn lots of staff, and they don't necessarily give themselves or the industry a great name. And quite a lot of the time, if you've got a really well considered and concise understanding of what your own personal vision is, that's not the hardest thing to change or turn into a professional vision, is it? That is something that you can connect a team to, and everyone can pull together with a shared purpose. So, however you come to that conclusion is vital, I think, if you want to run an agency, especially for 12 years with incredible success.
Yeah, that's it really, isn't it? I think it's so much easier for people to get behind that when they can see that there is, a shared common goal. And then your culture and your values and everything like that trickles down from that without you having to really force anything, or, things like that should start to happen naturally. But then as you grow, you will get more responsible and you'll be able to employ people who might be culture officers. But if you're a small team, that should happen almost by dissemination.
It should feel like that. I think it's quite hard, and I'm sure that you recognise this. That oftentimes when an agency owner starts their business, they're just really good at a thing, aren't they? And they're an entrepreneur, maybe, like you say, and getting to that conclusion that you need to create this culture, and this culture should sort of come from you as the leader, is not always something that people grasp at straight away.
I didn't. I'll be honest. I didn't. Yeah.
I certainly didn't either. I remember sort of trying to go through a process of building a culture in the team, and realised that it felt very forced and couldn't work out why. And I was doing everything I was supposed to do, or thought I was supposed to do, and it wasn't until I knew what it was. Then you're right. And I think having that distilled in you and knowing exactly what you want makes it a hell of a lot easier, doesn't it?
It does. It really does, yeah. And that intrinsic sort of self-confidence and self-worth and that real purpose and direction, I didn't really have that 100%. I knew what I liked, and I loved the SEO, and I loved search. That bit was clear. The rest of it was happening.
Yeah, it kind of all happens around you quite quickly in an agency world. Do you find that knowing that more now helps with hiring, with firing, with both staff and clients?
Oh yeah, it really does. Yeah, it really does. I mean, I think we've always had the confidence to say no when a project is not right for us. As a business, we've always been able to see that. or on occasion to let a relationship go if it
Yeah.
wasn't working. But yeah, I think, it's not finished. We're still a work in progress.
Yeah. Yeah, it's never perfect. You can never, you can strive for perfection, but it's hard to achieve, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I wouldn't want to be honest. I'd want to be a constantly evolving, because humans are, and we're in the talent game, aren't we?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. So I guess other than having that sort of really strong self-awareness in place, what would you have done differently, or maybe even just instilled sooner over the years, or is there even maybe something that that you learned the hard way, I guess, that set you up for this future success that you've been having?
So I would definitely get a business partner from day one. I would launch with a partner. I would find that person as part of my plan.
Okay,
Creating that.
that's interesting.
Which again, didn't have a business plan. It was very much an accidental agency. It was just me. Ended up really quite successful, working 18 hours a day. So it span into something different. But with hindsight, if I'd have wanted to be an agency, had a plan to be an agency from day one, I would have found somebody that is not me. I would have, and I was actually thinking about this today. Wouldn't it be great to start a business with a recruiter?
Yes, yeah.
So you're growing the agency and they are building the talent, and that's the two sides. The two sides of your sort of personality types, the two sides of your skill sets. So it's like the beginning of your senior management team.
Yeah.
And this is 12 years too late, a realisation, but I just...
Yeah, I think that's especially...
That would be a good thing to do.
That's especially ahead of the curve. More so now than ever, I think, with the jobs market in the digital marketing sector. I think it's a bit of a strange time, isn't it, if you're looking to hire.
It is. It really is. Yeah.
And alluding to a conversation we had earlier, it's really hard to make sure that you're finding the right people that aren't just a on paper replacement for someone or just to fill a gap. You need to make sure they fit culturally with the people you already have.
Yeah, because it's a little sort of drop in a small calm pond can create such a big ripple.
Yeah.
'Cause we're a small team.
Yeah.
Small team, really, really great long-term relationships. Some of our clients have been with us for like 10 years. Really lovely long-term relationships. So we need to make sure we get the right personality matches.
Absolutely. And just come back to the thing you'd have done sooner in that you would have started with a business partner. Now, if I think back to just myself, I don't play very well with others, or I didn't do at the time when I started Optus out a long while ago. Would you have listened to that advice that you would, if you were to go back in time and give that to yourself, start with a partner? Would you have listened to it back then, or is this with the power of hindsight kind of thing?
I think I would. Yeah. Not necessarily for the reasons that you might think, but I think because of areas of self-doubt and understanding that I was good at certain things, but actually not having had any entrepreneurial. I'd always worked for large American companies. I'd worked for Yahoo, I'd worked for PR Newswire. I'd never worked for a really small, scrappy org. So I didn't have that experience at all. So I think it would have been something I would have been really, really very open to if I'd have, known that, if I'd have known how valuable it would have been.
And especially if it was a recruiter giving you that advice. Hey, I'm a recruiter and I've got lots and lots of money. Do you want to start working with me? You'd be the biggest agency in the UK right now.
Yeah, fastest growing.
Hoovering up all of the staff that come off the university production lines.
Yeah. Got no clients, but we are the fastest growing.
Yeah, massive piles of debt, but lots and lots of very happy people in culture.
Yeah.
So, is there something that you've other than kind of having a bit of self-doubt and starting off on your own when you potentially would have chosen to work with someone else? Has there been anything that you've learned like the hard way where you've gone, Jesus Christ, that is something I'm definitely not doing again, or wow, if I'd have known that sooner? Is there something that you're happy to talk about there?
Yeah, do you know what there is? There is something that I wish I'd known. prior to starting a business is get a prenup. Seriously. It's
truth
good,
bombs,
sound
guys. Truth
financial
bombs.
advice.
Yeah.
Should anyone ever, don't want this situation, but life happens. And
Yeah.
if you own a business, you start a business during the duration of partnership or marriage, be aware that to the letter of the law, the starting position is 50-50.
So what you're saying is you did have a partner when you started Erudite.
I was married.
Well, that is pretty good advice anyway. I think these days in general, I think that's potentially good advice, especially, if we move away from the humour of it all, it's probably a good thing to have clear lines. As much as it's unromantic, it's probably a good thing for everyone.
So many people that I've spoken to, friends or industry friends who I know quite well, were completely surprised. So many people were surprised that even if your spouse or life partner, whatever, has no stake in the business, has never worked in the business at all, the legal starting position is 50-50 on the division of assets.
Well,
so I'd strongly just recommend, if look into that, get legal and financial advice.
I know what my next call's going to be, and
Not
hopefully, Vicky, you're not listening to this.
But for those out there listening.
Yeah, no, it's sound advice. It is really, and I think that, I framed the question as something you've learned the hard way, and I think that these sorts of things mean that the next time a decision around the business in terms of its equity or its value come along, then you're going to look at that from a legal perspective just as well as you would do from an entrepreneurial business point of view, I guess.
Yeah, of course, and I think sometimes there's a lot of value from all of these peripheral pieces of advice when it comes to running an agency, owning a business. I could tell you about mistakes made here and there, and whatever that anybody else could tell you, but
yeah,
I'm trying to think about some of the hardest lessons I've had to learn myself.
I mean, every day as an agency owner, I think there's something new, isn't there? And the book never ends of little things that you'll learn as you go.
Yeah, for real.
And part and parcel of that is it's not a lesson unless you've actually learned from it. If you keep doing it, then you'd maybe a bit thick.
Isn't that the definition of insanity, or is that a cliche or a poster that's been
that could be one of those memes where it's a picture of Einstein with a quote from someone else with the name of something else. Yeah, it may well be from Einstein, but I feel like that's something that's not sciencey enough for him to have said.
I think you're right. It's been sort of it's been misrepresented over the years.
I'm pretty sure the definition of scientific process is to keep doing the same thing over and over again to keep proving it or proving it wrong.
Sounds
something like that.
Oh, I think the falsification and deduction, Karl Popper, the scientific method, isn't it? So something is right insofar as it cannot be proven wrong.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then it got turned into a meme.
Yeah.
Like everything else, hopefully this doesn't turn into a meme. So other than prenup, starting up with a partner, what do you think would be like one of the most sort of powerful pieces of advice you might give to a future agency leader or someone who's just starting their agency now?
So this is something I wish I'd done a little sooner. I have a shared board of directors. So it's an organisation called TAB, the Alternative Board, and essentially you sit on a board of directors that are kind of hand-selected from within your region of non-competitive businesses.
Okay.
So there might be, 4 to 6, 7 of you, and you share a board effectively. So once a month you'll meet, you'll talk about any particular issues, anything you're struggling with, how to resolve something, ask for referrals or anything like that. So we're each airing something that we're struggling with, or a challenge or a change or something like that. So it's a really cost-effective, nice way to have quite a large board of directors.
Yeah.
When you're really quite a small business.
Yeah, those sorts of things are incredibly powerful for businesses. Incredibly powerful because you're learning from similar issues and mistakes, and also supporting other people. It feels good as well as you get something out of it. And not to toot my own trumpet here and make this into a sales pitch, guys, but this is actually something that is quite popular in the digital agency world as a mastermind style group. One of the things that I've been building of late, Nichola, I'm sure if you've looked on Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook, I'm pretty much posting it everywhere. There's a digital agency mastermind group which is running now in the metaverse.
Yeah.
So if you fancy sticking a brick on your face and talking to me in a group setting with peers who run agencies but outside of your sort of general sphere of competitiveness, then that's a similar type of thing. And I think you're right when you say that it's a good thing for the business and a good bit of advice for someone to have, because with your tab group, there's things that will come up in your agency which will be slightly different but very, very relevant to someone else. And there's a lot that you can learn from that, as well as the potential business referrals, I guess.
Yeah, that's definitely something that's come secondary, but I think you've hit the nail on the head. And actually, I was going to ask you about your mastermind, because that looks super interesting, and I would definitely be interested in checking that out. But it's that sharing, it's that learned experience, but for me, it's the accountability.
Yeah.
Because you need someone to be your boss. If you're ultimately the boss, you can't just do that. You can't freewheel and be Machiavellian about everything. You need to be accountable to somebody.
I think that's one of the key things that underpin any kind of mastermind style thing, is that you come in with a problem or a position, everyone helps everyone out, but you don't just walk away from that meeting with a nice list of things that you're going to do. You've got people who help hold you to account. And with COVID, it's obviously been difficult to meet people in person, so a lot of that's gone to Zoom and things, which makes it a little bit harder. But any kind of accountability, when it's very hard for the leader of an organisation to hold themselves to account all by themselves, because it's very much in our nature to sort of procrastinate a bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think anyone who's thinking of starting an agency for themselves, once you've got things running and you've got the work coming in and you've got things moving, and you know that you're going to have the future problems that Nichola and I have talked about, other people have talked about within the sector. I think that that's really good advice there, Nichola, and also fantastic sales pitch for me. Brilliant.
It was just natural. It was just naturally done.
It just came. This was totally not contrived. So, if you would say that there's one thing that you have done at Erudite that has been kind of one of the most sort of powerful growth tools or ways of getting work in over the years that you'd either kind of double down on now, knowing it, or you'd spend a lot more effort on sooner, what's really helped grow the business over the years?
It's always been referrals.
Okay.
For us, and those referrals came from activity on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
It's honestly from really, really early days. Apart from some like personal referrals from people I've known from my Yahoo network, it's been very much about the content that I'd created in the early days, things that I'd shared, conversations that I'd started or been involved in. Just that for me has always been the driver.
Yeah. Well, if you consider from an everyman agency style where they offer every single digital agency service that there is going, it's really hard to build your business just on referral. But I think when you're doing excellent work in a niched area of digital marketing, and you are as an agency synonymous with great technical SEO. I knew of Erudite before I knew of you, put it that way. And that was going about 8 or 9 years ago, though. However, I think that being excellent at the things you're excellent at will naturally drive that referral, won't it? Because you'll have happy clients. If you've got the right level of client, then they'll move on to other companies and bring you in and things like that. And you fill your own sales funnel by just being excellent and honest to yourselves.
I guess some referral is about the face. It's about that person, isn't it? And some of it is about the service. And if you're one of those sort of, like, you, to use your words, an everyman agency, the referral then has to come from the face, surely, because you're not going to be, if someone says, do you know anybody that can do this, you're not going to be front of mind for said this if you do everything. It's going to be about, so I know that person is a good person and they can do, you know, whereas I guess for us, if someone asks that question, then we do come up. It's easier to remember that that's who they are, that's what they do.
Yeah, and I think you've hit the nail on the head there. If you do everything, you can't be great at everything. You know, the old adage of a jack of all trades. However, you can be really good at all of those things if you're a large agency with lots of departments. But if you're sort of small to medium size, it's always best, I personally think, to be really great at something that people will know you for. You're spot on.
That's been my experience thus far.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the end. Thank you very much for coming, everybody, and thanks for listening right to the end, guys. Thanks very much, Nichola, for gracing us with your presence. I know you're very busy and you're probably going to have to give your son back some headphones now.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed that.
Thank you very much. And we'll be joined next time by another fantastic digital agency owner whose name will remain a secret. So thanks very much for listening, and see you all soon.